Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I can't be there with you in person today, but I'm very grateful for the invitation and the opportunity to participate remotely. Since it was established in the 1990s, the mandate on toxics has been intimately connected with the hazardous substances that are used, produced, and released by extractive industries. Countless cases of pollution and contamination illustrate clear impacts on rights to life and health, particularly on children who are exposed to toxic heavy metals and other substances, and abuse of workers' rights to safe and healthy working conditions, as well as communities that are denied their right to an adequate standard of living. In most cases, the rights of information and participation are ignored, and numerous rights of the child are violated and abused. And nearly every case illustrates the challenge of a truly effective remedy for victims. As I described in my 2017 report to the Human Rights Council, an effective remedy and access to justice requires measures be taken for non-recurrence. No remedy is truly effective for hazardous substances and wastes unless it contains measures to prevent recurrence. I was deeply saddened to hear of the colossal catastrophe in Brazil earlier this year, as were people all over the world. The tailing dam collapse in January calls into further question an already questionable remedy that was provided after the Samarco mining disaster just over 3 years ago. Frankly, I regret that we as special procedure mandate holders are limited in our ability to help prevent disasters such as the latest one in Brazil. I continue to express my strong interest in receiving an invitation to do an official country visit to Brazil as soon as practicable, as I have since 2015. My fellow mandate holders and myself called on the government of Brazil to act decisively, to do everything in its power to prevent more tragedies such as the one that we saw in January of this year. The requirement to prevent recurrence cannot be ignored. I am deeply concerned by reports of dozens of other tailing dams in the state that seem to present a clear threat to communities living in their shadow, particularly in light of deregulatory efforts by the state since 2015. The latest tragedy in Brazil demands accountability. I made specific calls for the latest disaster to be investigated as a crime, for those responsible to be held to account, and for a robust, independent study of the toxicity of the waste. Indeed, one of the lingering questions with regard to the 2015 Maranhão disaster is in regard to the toxicity of the waste. My office continues to receive complaints of individuals who believe that their health problems are attributable to the toxicity of the waste. I urge the government and Valais to exercise far greater precaution with the present case than was demonstrated in 2015 when unsubstantiated reports that the waste was non-toxic were issued by the companies responsible. While the situation in Brazil is of grave concern, it is not the only country struggling with the toxic dangers presented by extractive industries. Over the years, I have heard some say that extractive industries are, by definition, unsustainable. And whether you subscribe to this opinion or not, what I find indisputable is that these industries can do better, and indeed must do better, both in terms of human rights and in terms of sustainability, simultaneously. Human rights and sustainable development cannot exist without the other. They must go hand in hand. Thank you again for the opportunity to participate, and I wish you a fruitful discussion.